South Carolina's 7th District, 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the witnesses for being here. I'm struck, I'm going to go off script a little bit because the Democrats on this committee seem to be operating under a little bit of amnesia. You know, they've highlighted or they talk about the last couple months that the president has had the White House, but they have completely forgotten the 4 disastrous years of the Biden presidency. Inflation surged, peaking at 9% in mid-2022 and remained above the Fed's 2% target for 40 months. That's on their watch. That's what they did. Prices rose for the consumer 17 to 20% since Biden took office, with essentials like food, rent, and electricity increasing sharply. Real wages fell 4 to 5% since January 2021. So all these things that they're talking about the home ownership being unaffordable, these are things that they caused. And so you talked about a lot of this with the standards that they imposed. They don't make any sense. And then they come to this committee, and then they forget what the last 4 years looked like, and then they come up with low energy slogans like Big Ugly Bill. Well, that's just nonsense. If they had voted for this, they would be supporting working families and the tax hike that would have happened if they did nothing, which if they were in power, that's exactly what would have happened. And so this presidency and this Congress are about making things affordable again. It starts with the working families tax cut that was just passed. It starts with reversing the Biden-level obscene regulations that we have on everything from refrigerators to home appliances. Like who would have thought that any of us, when we ran for Congress, would be talking about gas stoves or shower heads, for God's sakes. But nonetheless, I have a bill dealing with shower heads because of things that happen under the Biden administration. So let's talk about that. Instead of empowering families, the federal government has been telling the people how long that their dishwashers can operate and what kind of stove they can buy, and even how much water that the shower head could use. And so the bill, the one I'm talking about, restores some of that common sense. Let's get back to it. And it's about protecting families from bureaucratic overreach. We see this time and time again where the ivory tower of Washington, D.C. comes in their infinite wisdom and tells the rest of everybody how to live. Mr. Lieberman, can you describe the whiplash regulations between the last few administrations as they relate to, I don't know, showerhead water flow?
Well, actually, the showerhead saga has been going on since 1992. There was the Energy Policy Act of 1992 originally had these showerhead provisions. Some people don't like the lower flow. I think it's, quite frankly, a very silly regulation. If the shower's hitting you with too much water, you turn the damn knob down. I don't know why you ever really needed the government. But over time, it is true that showerhead makers have made adjustments to the lower flow, and that's improved things a little bit. Also, it's easy to defeat you didn't hear that from me, but it's easy to defeat the low flow provision in the flow restrictor, I should say, in the showerhead.
Yeah, contractors do it all the time, right? So, I mean, you don't have to answer that. You can plead the fifth, but I'm sure they do that all the time, right?
Mr. Hughes, but and one of the issues was whether showerheads with multiple heads, whether each shower head can give you a good flow of water, or that you have to take the cumulative effect into account. And so.
But again, it gets to the point where depriving consumers of the ability to make that choice for themselves, right?
That's really what this is all about, is letting people decide for themselves.
The Department of Energy is taking comments on the issues. The center point of a recent executive order issued by President Trump. Is energy efficiency really being prioritized when you're restricting water usage, though?
Well, it's the energy used to heat the water. So if you're taking a cold shower, you're not helping out. But again, whether we really need federal intervention on shower flow is, I think, was questionable. But this has been going on for
questionable. We like that, Mr. Lieberman. Energy efficiency and resilience measures are important to South Carolinians, but not all energy efficiency efforts are created equal. I think it's important that taxpayers get a good deal. Mr. Lieberman, are marginal energy savings associated with weatherization programs, are they worth the cost?
Well, there have been some studies that say that the benefits tend to be overstated and the costs tend to be understated. Usually, there's projections that come up with benefits well in excess of cost. But there have been some retrospective analyses that found that it isn't nearly so clear whether this is a program that's worth the cost. So I think it's at least worth looking at some of those studies to see if we're getting the bang for the buck with this program.
I appreciate your answer to that. See, my time has expired, but I think it goes to his point earlier that the housing costs have gone up 10 to 30% based on regulations. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman's time has expired and yield